Grand Rising. Thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday edition of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, your host today, and we'll be talking about that which is on the minds of so many across America: ICE, the federal military service that has caused so much upheaval with the killing of two citizens in the name of removing unlawful immigrants. So, what has been proposed is a national shutdown, a boycott of all things. No going to work, no going to school, no shopping. A shutdown of the nation conducted by the citizens. That has been proposed as a way to send a message to the federal government as to who really holds the power. Is it the president or the people? We'll be right back and talk to you. We want you to give us a call, 727-731-5192, because we want to hear from you. The proposed Friday shutdown. Will you do it? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Yes, this is the female solution, and we know that we can't make it work without our males as well. So we want you all to call in as we discuss this proposal for collective protest and really get a handle on what happened and what could happen based on the intentions of those who are proposing this shutdown. First of all, the question becomes, what kinds of things have happened that the citizens are saying are against the people and deserve the response of noncompliance? This has been a battle, and so many are angry, but so many more are fearful. And fear is an emotion in which you are no longer rational and you can be manipulated. People can create fear, and fear can turn into panic, and panic turns into self-destructive behaviors. So, what is it that has happened that has caused America to believe that perhaps its government has turned against the citizens? Well, of course, whenever we see a killing and it's done by an authority, we fear, because those in authority, we have been conditioned to believe, have power over those who are not in authority. But gradually, people are realizing that if the people stand together against those who are in authority, then they no longer have authority. And this is called a revolution. Is this not the grounds under which this nation was created? It's rebellion against the British authority, and its refusal to acknowledge the British rules and regulations. It's rebellion against the British Army and soldiers and those who were intimidating the citizens. Is this situation not the very foundation of so many of the written Bill of Rights that had been violated under British rule? So, what do we think is going to be the outcome of the acts of rebellion, which are, of course, what the protests are that we're seeing? Well, we want you to give us a call, 727-731-5192, as we take a look at the proposed rebellion in not going to work, not going to school, not doing any shopping of any kind on this coming Friday, as a statement by the people as to who is truly in power. We're going to take a look at a couple of things said by some authority figures. And we're going to also take a look at some of the responses of those in the government. What exactly do the people expect those who are currently in authority to do if there is a mass rebellion? And what do the people fear will happen if government officials remain unchecked in power? We'll talk about that. First, we want to bring you a message, a reminder of why things must change in our nation and what insensitivity and inequality creates when there are people who are suffering and whose needs are ignored because those in power choose not to see them and choose to instead intimidate them because they simply have no place to go. Where is the compassion? We're going to talk to you about the power that you have to make a difference. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
In which we're doing this documentary for Douglas Robinson, Your Death Will Not Be in Vain.
He was a heck of a great dude.
And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
Because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
And we are back. And we want to remind you of why it's necessary for the people to make a difference. We at the Female Solution, we have launched a supportive message so that those of us who can do something will choose to do something. And everybody can participate if they choose. We often blame people for not having money. We blame them for not being able to pay their bills. We scorn them. We deny them simple help when we could, in fact, change their condition forever. People deserve dignity. They deserve to be able to go to the bathroom when they have to go. They deserve to be able to wash themselves. They deserve shelter. And this is a nation that has made it seem normal to watch people suffer and have an overabundance and do nothing. And perhaps this is why so many have immigrated to this place, because this is where people throw away food. They throw away clothing. They abandon empty buildings. They abandon buildings and let them stay empty while people are living on the street in the cold, suffering. That's inhumane. And we want to change the thought that makes us see this behavior as acceptable. So we have launched a program, and you can participate on our website, thefemalesolution.com. And it's called Dignity. Donated items giving new inspiration to you. Realizing that what you have can give people back their dignity. Now, many have clothes, but they're nice clothes, and they're not the kinds of clothes that you can make best use of by giving to people who are living on the street, because many times they have to use cloth as cushion that they lay on the ground. But when you have nice garments that people would buy, we want you to sell them. We want you to provide a means where they can help finance the things that people need. Heaters in the winter, gloves, hats, shoes, socks. Sometimes things need to be purchased, and that requires money. And so we've created a page where when we sell items that have been donated, 100% of it goes to those who are unhoused. And our dear Sister Zelda, the host of Monday Morning Mindfulness here on the Female Solution, every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time, diligently goes out to feed those who are in need. And as a result of going to where they are, she can see the conditions. She and her husband, Tony, they take the time to cook warm meals and also provide life-giving snacks, food that people can eat all day long and not go hungry and not feel like they need to try to snatch someone's purse or pick someone's pocket or find a way to steal something out of a store just so that they can survive. People steal out of fear that people won't share. So we choose to share. And this is why we've created this page on our website where nice clothing is being sold for a price that you perhaps would want to donate for someone who is unhoused. And simply go to thefemalesolution.com/dignity and scroll down and hit the item that you wish to purchase. And we'll arrange for its delivery to you. and your money will be used for those items that people need who are struggling day to day to survive. We're creating this initiative in order to set an example of what happens when we work together. Now, you may have items that you, in fact, are sitting in your closet, you have sitting in your closet, and what good are they doing if you don't really want to wear them and yet you're not selling them? You can say, I could sell them myself. Yeah, but you haven't, because they've been sitting there for months, years, decades. Doesn't matter if they're out of style. If they're warm, someone likes them and they're somebody's style. So we'll be reiterating this to you daily to remind you that we are our brother's keeper. And the reason why we're in the state of panic that we're in today is because we have spent so much time admiring the rich and famous instead of realizing that wealth can also mean withholding everyone's abundance, letting them hurt. Well, when you have much more than you need and you won't share, and we admired someone who we saw was wealthy, we admired the show that he produced, we admired the way he dismissed people when they didn't measure up, you're fired. We admired that. And we selected that person to hold the top office in the nation. And now we're angry because he's expressing the values of those who scorn people who don't have, or people who are seeking to come where there is an abundance of wealth because their own countries have been made uninhabitable in many places because of extreme poverty, which creates extreme crime and extreme violence. So if we want to create a balance, we have to change our values, change the values that created the condition that we created that now we're angry about and want to reverse. So let's do the thing that would change the thing we don't like and restore dignity to those who are unhoused. Go to thefemalesolution.com/dignity. And one of the things that we ask is that you participate in whatever your budget allows, because these are items that have been given for the purpose of making life better for those who are having difficulties. So if you have clothing that you know is nice, maybe gently worn, maybe even new that you never wore, choose to participate in an operation that will circulate dollars and give to those who are striving to survive with dignity. And Zelda Speaks from the Higher Learning TV show, our Monday morning mindfulness host, says, we now realize that we are the ones who can make the necessary changes in our communities. It all starts with each individual. Are you ready, Chicago? That's the question. Well, here in Chicago, we have seen some gatherings on the streets in solidarity with Minneapolis. We're going to take a quick break, come back and show you some of those scenes. And we want you to call in and comment. And let's talk about if we are, in fact, ready to massively protest what we see happening to our brothers and sisters around the country? And are we ready to participate in a nationwide shutdown to show who's really the boss? We'll be right back after this quick break. And as always, we want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in just one moment. So stay with us. We're going to greet our global family watching us from all around the world.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom.
In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. We are back. You are watching the Female Solution Global broadcast. And we appreciate those who are involved in what is happening and choosing to make a difference. We're taking a look at what has been proposed. A shutdown of the nation, a refusal to buy anything, to do any shopping of any kind, a refusal to go to work, a refusal to send your children to school, to have everything grind to a halt, protesting the recent killings and also the destructive, intimidating behavior of the ICE agents. Now, if you've been watching any kind of news at all, you're aware that cities have been protesting in solidarity with the citizens of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this collective anger has resulted in a collective thought that if we stand together and show who really runs things, the people, not the president, then we can make a change. The question is, how many people are free enough to take that stand? How many people aren't fearful of losing a job, getting fired? How many people are willing to stay home with their children and not send them to school? How many people will refrain from going to buy something at the store? How many people are disciplined enough to perform a collective action. Now, we have a history of collective action and how it does change things. The Montgomery bus boycott was a time when people were angry because of the racial injustice in the Montgomery bus system. The segregation, the requirement that if you were a Black person, one of dark skin, then when you sat down on the bus, you could sit there as long as there were enough seats. But if a white person got on the bus and there were no seats, you must get up and give them your seat. You must move to the back. Often, you could not get on the bus unless you boarded the back. And the psychological intention behind that was to remind Black people that they were considered second-class citizens. They were considered lesser than. It was psychological warfare, continued from the days of slavery and Jim Crow. And so when the people chose to rebel, they chose collectively to refuse to ride the buses in order to financially cripple the system. Now, initially, the thought was, well, we'll do this for a day, and then we'll see what happens. And then when the decision was made to have an extended boycott, there was a fear that people would not be able to sustain not riding the bus. So carpools were formed and people were riding each other to work and people were walking to work and the buses were empty. And this broke the Montgomery bus system. And a little over a year later, they changed the laws and desegregated the bus, and the people won. And a young man rose to power and prominence, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, we all know the story. We're about to go into the February season where we celebrate the history of Black people in America, and we remind ourselves of all the struggles during the civil rights era and Rosa Parks not giving up her seat. And there were others who didn't give up their seats even before Rosa Parks. But the lesson in that particular exercise is that if people are angry enough, they can sustain a long-term boycott. The question is, after one day of not going to work or school, and not shopping, will this have an impact? Will there be enough people to participate so that there is a noticeable difference when the streets are cleared? Will it be noticeable based on the fact that this is wintertime? Who goes outside anyway? So it's not as though there was a crowd going back and forth, just enjoying the weather outside. The streets are empty anyway because it's freezing. So in one sense, this is a good gesture that may or may not have an impact because of the seasonal conditions and people tend to stay inside anyway. Or it could have a major impact based on the kinds of jobs that people have. What about if you're a bus driver and you choose not to go to work? Who's going to ride your bus to get to work? What if you are a grocery store clerk and you don't come? Who's going to ring up groceries? Well, okay, they got self-service, but somebody's got to run something. Even with self-service, someone has to manage the operation and make sure that customers actually pay for their groceries before they walk out the door. Whatever job you have, if it's a key job that could make a difference if you're absent, are you willing to risk losing that job by not going to make a statement? So we're asking for Friday's anti-ICE shutdown. No work, no school, no shopping. Will you do it? We want you to call us and give us your comments. 727-731-5192, because we do want to hear from you. We do want to get a gauge as to how serious are we? Are we really angry enough to transform the government that has seen its power unchecked? Are we really ready for a revolution? Or are we going to be content with symbolic gestures? And as we let off steam marching down the streets, are we really ready to inconvenience ourselves for a long period of time and not spending money, not going to work, keeping our children at home? We kept our children at home during the pandemic, the COVID crisis, when we were told we had to stay home. Now, can we do it voluntarily to make a statement that we have the power to choose whether or not we participate in the country's activities? And we can choose to not participate if we're angry at the government. Are we disciplined enough to do this collective action? We want you to call us. Give us a call, 727-731-5192. We do want to hear from you. And we want you to think seriously about your willingness to defy authority. Have you been conditioned to fear based on the thought that if you lose a job, you then can't pay your mortgage, your rent, your utilities? What happens if you can't pay your electric bill or your gas bill, your insurance? What happens? What happens if you don't have spending money for groceries? Are you in fear that someone else controls your life to such a degree that they can abuse you and force you to accept abuse because you fear a financial system that controls your life? Or are you willing to do something to take back your control? Well, there are ways to create something that empowers you. Are you willing to do something different? There are many who have been inspired to create systems that remove control of your livelihood by centralized authorities and instead puts the power back in your hands. Are you willing to do something different? Or are you stuck in a state of fear and a belief in powerlessness? This Friday will determine where you stand and what you believe you have in your own hands: the power to choose and the power to create. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back to take your calls and your comments. And we want you to give us a call, 727-731-5192, because we do want to hear from you. We'll be right back after this quick break. So we want you to stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
What's up, guys? It's Osada, the host of the Gathering of the Griots podcast, part of the Female Solution. Want you to join us every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And guess what we do? We interview authors of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. The books, the experiences, the lifestyles, all of it with fervor. So be there right on the Soulful Chicago Book Fair YouTube page or on the Female Solution Facebook page. We look forward to having you and all our literary essence. Peace.
And we are back. You're watching the Female Solution Global Broadcast. And I'm Naima Latif. And we are excited to bring you news that can change your mind. What we do every day is to bring you a perspective that reminds you of the power that you have, the power to create. And so many people are fearful because they're believing that their power is being taken away. They're believing that someone else controls whether or not they can live. So we want to remind you that the power has always been in your hands. There are those who are creating new economic systems. There are those who are defying the standards that keep us too fearful to rebel when we're mistreated. They're choosing to do things such as grow their own food so they don't have to worry about not being able to buy groceries. They're choosing to do things such as invest in other kinds of currencies, such as cryptocurrencies, so that they can buy and exchange with people, whether or not the current banking system decides that they have enough money to buy and sell what they need. They're choosing to create systems that free them from fear. But it takes time to undo the conditioning, a belief in powerlessness and a fear of authority, and most of all, a fear of being killed. And this is what people must overcome in order to stand up and say no. The recent shootings in Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, triggered something in citizens. and made them choose to say no, and in a collective voice to protest. And as a result of these massive protests, people are now deciding that they want to challenge the federal government by not participating in any form of activity that keeps this nation functioning. And in deciding to boycott their jobs, the schools, the grocery stores, for one day, they're hoping that this sends a message. The question, of course, is, are people able to sustain a thought, a strategy to continue to rebel against that which they see as abusive? Well, let's take a look at some of the streets in Minneapolis where thousands protests, and this is from On Air Daily News, and you can go to onair.dailynews.com and see that the protests of ICE in Minneapolis, even in the inclement weather, thousands protests, thousands march in the streets. And because of these protests, other citizens have been inspired to join. And as we can see, there are people who, even bundled up, are marching in unison in the streets and are saying that they are not going to continue. And we have the story there on the On Air Daily News. But cities all across the country are protesting. Chicago, New York. Places where the agents who have been deployed by the federal government and are breaking into or demanding to be let into the homes of those who they say are illegal immigrants. They've been accused of a kind of terrorism and even compared to the Gestapo. And these, of course, are trigger words. ICE, of course, means Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And it's a federal agency enforcing immigration, custom, and trade laws, but it can escalate into forcibly removing citizens, as we've seen. It's the Department of Homeland Security, and it's to enforce border controls. But so many immigrants recently came in search of safety because of their own conditions of economic distress, insecurity because of crime, violence brought by an escalating drug traffic. And many Venezuelans and others who have come are now being forcibly detained and deported. And there are many who have mixed feelings because some say, well, they're taking our jobs and they should be kicked out. But now we're seeing what happens when that kind of aggression gets forced upon those who may be citizens minding their own business. They just happen to maybe have darker skin or be speaking in another language. And so people are feeling the effects of the oppression that African Americans are saying we've been experiencing since we got here. Those of us who were forced to come against our will for the purpose of a free labor system. So now the evil of disrespect of the lives of others has escalated and spread to other ethnicities, including those who are Caucasian. And now that people understand that, what is it Dr. King said? Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So now we're experiencing the injustice that has spread and is creating fear and panic, because people are seeing that when government authority goes unchecked, then people are subject to abuse. And there is fear that people's livelihoods may be disrupted. There's fear that they may be faced with a fatal attack by an authorized government official. So, what power lies in the hands of the people? Well, the Montgomery bus boycott did, in fact, demonstrate that the people do have the power and they can break a system. But it requires more than a day. And it requires more than one-time protesting. And it requires a fearlessness to face those who may attack you. And people who marched with Dr. King were trained and disciplined. There are many who protest today that can easily be manipulated into performing acts of violence and then creating a reaction, then which would justify force in the minds of those who are really not sure which side is right and which side is wrong. So what did we learn from the protests during the civil rights era? What did we learn from the boycotts? A strategic plan requires disciplined preparation in order to be productive and empower you to change conditions. One day, nations are affected by one day of a shutdown. But how long can that shutdown be sustained in order to make an impact? And the one day that's being asked, this Friday, you're being asked to not shop, not go to work, not go to school. Are you willing to take that one day? That is the question. And if you're willing to take a chance. What would happen if those who employ you terminate your job, terminate your employment? Do you have a plan B? And are we willing to work cooperatively to those who may experience a backlash to make sure they're taken care of so that they don't need to operate in fear? Well, we're going to take one last break and come back and show you a few scenes of those who are in solidarity with the people of Minneapolis. One day, are you willing to take it? Are you ready to face the consequences? And are you willing to extend this one day if it proves to be effective in getting attention of those in authority? We'll be right back after this last break, so we want you to stay with us.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushim Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
And we are back. You are watching and we are here. We have seen in the city of Chicago some protests in solidarity with the people of Minneapolis, reported on our on-air daily news. So take a look at these individuals braving the cold to make a statement. I think we've got a couple of things running here. One of the things that we have observed in the process of making a statement, so many people are willing to brave the weather, willing to march through the streets, willing to stand with those who they feel have been violated. But the question is, after the symbolic stand, are we willing to create a new system that prevents this from happening? So now, let's again take this in the streets of Chicago, and this one of the very massive protests that have happened based on people's anger. And we want to make sure that after we let off steam in a protest, that we are willing to take some direct action. That was the success of the Montgomery bus boycott. There were marches in the streets. There were protests. There were sit-ins. There was civil disobedience. But there was also an extended withdrawal of support of the Montgomery bus system. And as a result of that, things changed. But then there was the extended protests across the South. There was the extended disruptions from civil disobedience. There were lives lost. There were people who, in fact, were willing to involve their children. We heard from Mama D, one of our reporters who has been out in the trenches and reminding us that there were children in the civil rights protests. There were children whose parents allowed them to participate. So this coming Friday, January 30th, the last Friday of this month, we're going to see if people are able to involve their children by keeping them home and involve the risk of their jobs and the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, whom people have feared would come and illegally take them, even though they're citizens. We're going to see if we, in fact, have the courage to stand our ground. I'm Naima Latif, and I'm looking forward to joining you next week. And I invite you to join us tonight, 7 p.m. We're introducing part 4 of a 6-part series called Service, Sharing Earth's Resources, Voluntarily Implementing Creative Exchange. And we'll also have this on our website because it's another way to empower us to do that which we have the power to do, to alleviate all our suffering, and that is to simply share. We'll be back next week, and we want you to join us tomorrow for Master Force with Mushem Sunt. And until next time, we want you to continue to shine your light. We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you.
To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.